Custom ready to.
Yeah. Lamoise.
Avon, turn it up.
Bright night, dark day, cold drink, it's nobody.
I remember them bright nights and them dark days, waking up to them cold trays. I had to stand up, man up and shut up, I had to go back to my old ways. Fuck all that clout, my sister could out, beating niggas up in the first grade. When I was the little me, they try to bully me, knock me your shit like a home invade. And it's crazy, I'm just trying to run that bag up, and it's crazy, these niggas hate. Run it off. My brother Blake, who with my water, so him later, boy, he try to snake. But it's okay though, because the cake closed, I'ma just get it, the bloodhound. Let go. Try to act like you by the street life, fuck y'all niggas, y'all been clowns. Them days I was locked up, I couldn't cop nothing, get can't take from my big home. Mama and daddy were busy, my sis couldn't see me, my brother, yeah, made him nervous. Just got my deuce on the phone, I can hear her crying, I know that shit really worry, you know what that mean? Hell yeah, I'ma make it back home like it's urgent. I remember them bright nights and them dark days, waking up to them cold trays. I had to stand up, man up and shut up, I had to go back to my old way. Fuck all that clout, my sister kept out, beating niggas up in the first grade. When I was the little me, they try to bully me, now me your shit like a home invade. I remember them bright nights and them dark days, waking up to them cold trays. I had to stand up, man up and shut up, I had to go back to my old way. Fuck all that clout, my sister kept out, beating niggas up in the first grade. When I was the little me, they try to bully me, now me your shit like a home invade.
Yo, shouts out to let me just YSB pop out featuring my little cuz Mars. Yo, he go by the name of Little Mars. But listen, you guys already know South Carolina is in the building. Let's go.
Bitch, I love to get active, don't do no directing. You know that we stepping on it like a cat. Man, I'm getting mixed up, no, I didn't get a deal. So bitch, I'm so far from a motherfucking rap session. I to get high, yeah, I live in the sky. Fuck your nigga with shit, I go out like a pack. YSB, yeah, we get money and plus with them niggas, yeah, that's why a nigga hate. Family over everything, go against it, pussy nigga, I need your brain. Ever since I had lost burning, this shit did me dirty, this shit can't even feel the same. My cousin, the cotton, my cut, slice nigga like butter, he pray for a nigga to play. My bitch, she steady be tripping, think I want something different, bitch, get the shit out of your brain. I remember them bright nights and them dark days, waking up to them cold trays. I had to stand up, man up and shut up, I had to go back to my old ways. But fuck all that clout, my sister kept out, beating niggas up in the first grade. When I was the little me, they tried to bully me, now me your shit like a home invade. I remember them bright nights and them dark days, waking up to them cold trays. I had to stand up, man up and shut up, I had to go back to my old ways. But fuck all that clout, my sister kept out, beating niggas up in the first grade. When I was the little me, they tried to bully me, now me your shit like a home invasion.
Same business, it's all personal. What's wrong with them pop out? Run that shit up for sure. Facts.
Yeah. You guys already know what time it is. It's your girl Voice You. Yo, shouts out to YSB Pop Out featuring Little Mars. Yo, I just gotta tell you, these are some young kids that's coming up. And again, if anybody would like to submit their music, you can find me. Listen to the hashtag. Listen to my name drop. Okay. But listen, shout out again, YSB Pop Out featuring Little Mars, Bright Nights and Dark Days. These are some young kids out here in South Carolina. I'm not going to call them kids because they're adults, but in my eyes, you know what I'm saying? I'm older than them. So at the end of the day, they sit in here and they pushing, they grinding, they getting their music out. If you want to go ahead and share your music too, you can send it over to Voice You. That's a Facebook Messenger. And you can also hit me up on my DMs, Aja919 on Instagram. You can send me your music through there and I'll pop out. I'll send you an email. But listen, you guys already know what time it is. It is Woman. And in case you don't know what Woman is, it stands for World Organization Movement Against Narcissism, geared towards women and men. Yes, men too. Listen, and we talk about mental health over here. We talk about awareness, the strength, the outreach, the guidance, the support, all that stuff that you see behind or in front of you. I'm not going to say behind because I ain't there yet. You know what I'm saying? That's what we talk about over here. And I don't like to be sentimental and you know what I'm saying? Boo hoo. I don't do that in my podcast. I like to, you know what I'm saying? Just basically get to the point and see how we can figure it out and just be unbiased about stuff. That's all. Just be unbiased, because I'm guilty of some things too. But we got to keep it a buck. When you talk about dealing with people with mental health issues and in a relationship type environment, then it can get a little bit crazy, and people need to be aware of what's going on. Right? So listen, this is what we're going to do. Before I even get into the show, I am going to do what? Show face. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Voice. So listen, we're going to talk about this today. Blame versus accountability. Blame versus accountability. Well, at the end of the day, you can easily blame somebody for upsetting you. You can easily blame somebody, or should I say, point the finger for, something they have done. Maybe by accident, it may be intentional. We're going to get into that, but you can easily say it's your fault, right? So at the end of the day, with that being said, right, saying it's your fault or it's their fault and not your fault, and you don't have anything to do with what's going on, then that can be kind of, you got to hold yourself accountable in some of these things. So it can't be blame all the time. But if it's blatantly in your face and you see it happening, you know what I mean? Then guess what? I'm pointing the finger. Like if it's a discussion you guys had and that person still constantly is doing something based upon the discussion you just had, then guess what? I'm blaming you. It's not accountability at that point. It's not, oh, you know what? I messed up, whatever. No, I'm blaming you because we had a discussion about this. So, we're going to talk about accountability versus blame, or blame versus accountability. And we are going to talk about some key points. You know what I'm saying? What makes you take responsibility for something that you have done? Well, again, if you see yourself in a situation, and this is all geared toward relationships, if you see yourself in a situation, right, and you guys are having a little slight argument based upon something that was said to you. Now, it doesn't mean that it was said intentionally. Sometimes when you're speaking to a person, things can be misconstrued, right? A lot of people say things get misconstrued through text because they're not good with their words, or they don't, know how to express themselves as if they would speaking to someone directly. But, that can happen. That can happen. But when do you take responsibility for the things that you have said? When do you take responsibility, or accountability, should I say, for the things that you said? Do you apologize and say, oh, my bad, I didn't mean that in that way? Or do you just keep going with it because at that point you're full blown in an argument? Like, what do you do? We're going to talk about learning from your mistakes. We can say milestones too, because sometimes in a relationship you go through milestones. Yeah, you do. But that's a whole nother talk. But learning from your mistakes. Okay. This comes with you guys are about to see my big boy right here. He's making his debut. My big boy Dash. Yeah, that's the Saint Bernard. Yeah, he's over 120 pounds. If you ever try to step, let's not go there. But that's my baby boy. So at the end of the day, right, when you're taking the accountability for your actions, for something you said, not intentionally, but you've said it because maybe you were mad and you know what I mean? You were just trying to express your emotions and it came out wrong. Well, when do you say, hey, that's my fault, that's my bad? I'm going to work on it, because you can't, I don't agree when people say it'll never happen again. You're lying. You're lying, because every relationship is that, right? So now you're learning from your mistakes. All right, I know this person doesn't like when I do this. I know this person, we talked about this and it bothers them. So I'm going to not step into that realm of, so much better. I'm not going to step into that realm of, trying to get them upset because I know it's going to affect them. Like, that's, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not going to, I learned from my mistake. Maybe it took me probably 3 times, but I learned from my mistake, right? When you blame people for things, it does take a negative effect because the other person is already going to feel targeted. They're going to feel violated. They're going to, You blamed me for doing something I didn't do. Well, this comes with let's figure this out first. If I'm telling you something, if I'm telling you how I feel, right? And at the end of the day, you went and did it anyway. What was the point of me expressing my feelings to you if you really don't you don't give a shit about them? So if something happens because I'm reacting now based off the actions of everything, of me coming out and saying my feelings, of you still doing it, and then you're going to act like you didn't do anything, well, guess what? I'm blaming you for my action because you couldn't hold up to accountability. It was your responsibility to make sure that you were working on never doing it again. You see where I'm going with this, people? So that is part of that. I don't want to keep hearing that. So after you're honest with yourself about the things that you don't like, then you're going to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to respond, but I'm not going to react. Now, the key thing with responding and not reacting, you cannot respond to someone in a fit of anger. It'll never work. It'll never work. You can't be angry trying to respond to anybody. It'll never work. Because all that's going to come out is anger words, angry words, pure bits and fits of rage. You'll never get nowhere. And if you're dealing with someone that also has a temper, then guess what that's going to end up being? Yep. You probably guessed it. You got a whole case of domestic violence. You have to learn to just get to a place. And I'm going to be honest. I don't care how long it takes you to get yourself to that place. You got to be able to get yourself to a place that you are going to be comfortable in to have a conversation. Do not force yourself to have a conversation when you're not ready to have that conversation. Get yourself in a place. I don't care if it takes you 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks or months. Get yourself in a place mentally where you are stable enough to have that conversation. That is a key fact. And people may say, oh my God, the other half, if you have a partner, oh my God, it's taking you forever just to talk to me. Why can't we talk? Well, I don't want to yell at you. I don't want to react. I want to respond. And I had to make sure that I was in a place to be able to respond and not react. So it's either you want that version of me or you're going to get the other version. Don't be afraid to take your time. So when you actually get the chance to respond and when you get yourself up and going, right? Be compassionate with it. And if you feel that you can't be compassionate, I'm not talking about empathetic. I'm not talking about sympathetic. I'm talking about having some compassion in what you're saying, because at the end of the day, when you're investing your time into someone and you're like really loving somebody, you don't want to go in there and just be so inconsiderate of their feelings. You want to go in there thinking of all the happy moments of why you're together and why you are even getting mad, because you actually care about that person. I believe when somebody makes you that angry in a relationship, it's because you do give a fuck about their feelings. Excuse my language. But you do. You care about their feelings. So when you're at that stage where you're ready to respond, go in there with some compassion and, be considerate of their feelings, because sometimes, they're in us that people have their own state of processing. So if you are taking your time to just get that response in, then at the end of the day, think about how they felt too, while you were taking your time to, be able to respond. And again, don't feel guilty about that. but be compassionate with your response. And if you feel as if you don't have that type of right? Because this is talking about accountability versus blame. If you feel like you don't have that type of but maybe you need to be honest with yourself. We're going back to step 2 and be honest with yourself again and say, hey, I don't know if I want to even deal with that. And you still leave on a great note, though. You still leave on a great note. You know, honesty is definitely key to evolving over any type of arguments, over any type of separation, over any type of issue. I don't care if it's because somebody spilled a chip. You still got to have accountability when you're blamed. I know the people are like, well, huh? Yeah. If you dropped a chip, oh, I seen you dropped a chip. Well, I'm blaming you. You dropped the chip. What you going to tell me you didn't drop the chip? And there are some people that will do that. And you already know who they are, the narcissists. I want you guys to take this into today's thoughts. Blame versus accountability. Think about everything that I said. You know what I'm saying? Drop your comments. Tell me what you got to say down there. But this is definitely a pre-record. I'll get back to y'all in y'all comments. You know what I'm saying? Blame versus responsibility. You guys already know what time it is. It's your girl Voice. But I'm going to actually just leave you with that song again. And you guys already know, Bright Nights and Dark Days. South Carolina. Yo, shouts out to my little cuz, Lil Mar. You doing it. I see you, boy. Blame versus accountability. Bye, y'all.
Custom ready up.
Yeah. Lamoise.
Avon, turn it up.
Bright night, dark day, cold drink, Snoop Dogg.
I remember them bright nights and them dark days, waking up to them cold trays. I had to stand up, met up and shut up, I had to go back to my old way. Fuck all that clout, my sister about beating niggas up in the first grade. When I was the little me, they try to bully me, knock me your shit like a home invasion. And it's crazy, I'm just trying to run that bag up, and it's crazy, these niggas hate. Run it off. My brother Blake, who with my water, sick him, little boy, he try to snake. But it's okay though, because the kick closed, I'ma just get it the bloodhound. Let go. Try to act like you by the street life, fuck y'all niggas, y'all been clown. Them days I was locked up, I couldn't cop nothing, get can't take from my big homie. Mama and daddy were busy, my sis couldn't see me, my brother, yeah, made him nervous. Just got my deuce on the phone, I can hear her crying, I know that shit really worry, you know what that mean? Hell yeah, I'ma make it bad, home like it's urgent. I remember them bright nights.